Hello, and welcome to a video walkthrough of how to pose and configure the Galactic Grunt model and how to export it, or prepare it and export it for 3D printing. So first things first, when you open up the file, is you can select the text stuff here and hit H on your keyboard and the ruler and H on your keyboard to hide it. Or you can hit the little eyeball icon on the top right here, if you don't want to have this showing, but this is here if you want to reference how tall the model is. So feel free to scale up and down for your particular needs. And yeah, so what you want to do to start posing is you want to select the armature and go into pose mode here on the top left. And now when you click the bones, they'll be blue, and you can move them by hitting G on your keyboard to grab or R to rotate. Rotating is like dependent on your view of the model. So if you're looking at it from the side, it'll rotate like this. But if you look at it from the front, it'll rotate. It won't rotate. And here you can see I've got some rotation constraints on various bones, basically so that it makes mechanical sense. I did the same on the mechanical gnome model that I made. So some bones are constricted so that they don't rotate how they shouldn't. But if you feel at any point it's not like it's too restricting, or you want to make something that's like broken or whatever the case may be, you can always just select the bone and then hit unlock the constraints so that you can like rotate it however you like. But for this video, I'm just going to keep the rotation constraints on. So yeah, the armature is pretty simple. There's a single bone here in the center that the body is parented to, and all the limbs and head are connected to it. The head's also got a rotation constraint here so that it only turns left and right as it makes sense. If at any point you want to start from the beginning, you can right click and clear user transforms to sort of reset everything by default. You can hit A on your keyboard to select all the bones and clear user transform. As far as configuring the model, there's no additional options for this one yet. I may add some accessories or different weapon options in the future if there's enough interest. But for now, you can go into object mode and select the sort of bayonet. I'm just going to go back into pose mode real quick to rotate the arm out. So here the gun he's got comes with a knife or a sword, or a blade at the end of it that you can hide if you don't want to have it. So that's the only customizable part of this model. Like I said, I could add more in the future if there's enough interest. But yeah, so once you're done posing the model, feel free to play around, do all sorts of stuff. The hand is disconnected from the forearm, just so that it's like easier to make it look right and position it in places. You might want to shift it left and right depending on what kind of pose you're going for. The hand on the left, or its left hand, all the fingers are also rigged up, part of the bones, so you can move them all individually and make any sort of hand position you like. Hang loose. Or maybe Spider-Man. Thwip, right? Anyway, once you're done and once you're happy with your pose or whatever you're going for, I'm going to go into how to get it ready for 3D printing. So I've got a couple poses that I've prepared previously. Got one here that's like pointing, and one here that's yeah, ready to shoot. So I'm going to take this one and prepare it for 3D printing. So how do we do that? So first things first is you might want to save the pose that you've made. So you can press A on your keyboard to select all the bones, and you can hit the plus sign here in the pose library and add new, and then give it a name so that you save the pose, right? My pose or whatever. So that this pose that you've made is saved, and then you can press Control S on your keyboard to save the file, right? So once the file is saved, your pose is saved, you can always go back to it later. And then what you want to do is you want to hide everything that you don't want to export. So we're going to hide the base and only export the model. I'm going to hide the armature for now as well. So now we go into object mode. So once you're happy with this, we select all the objects, and then we're going to do a Control J on our keyboard to join so that it becomes one object. Control J. Control J. Why is this not working? Control J. Ah, there we go. I guess you have to select one object first and then drag and select. So now this is all one object, but the parts are still individual meshes all intersecting with each other. So we want to make a remesh of everything so that it becomes one solid object. Now, technically, this could print as is, fine, but I want to check for internal voids and fill them to eliminate any sort of, print failures possibility, right? This is what I do with all the models I export. I always take this extra step to make sure that there are no voids on the inside. So we're going to go here to the modifier panel, or this wrench thing, and then with the object selected, I'm going to go to add modifier and look for remesh. Here it is, the remesh modifier. And here you can see it's looking a little bit rough, right? So we want to lower the voxel size until it's at a quality that we're happy with. So we're gonna go down to, let's see, 0.05 to just have a look. Wait for it to sort of render in the viewport, and we can see it's looking like we're losing some sharpness here. So maybe you want to go lower, but personally I would be happy with this, especially printing at the scale that this is supposed to be at. This looks acceptable to me, but you might have higher standards, or you might have a super good printer that you might want to go lower, and feel free to go lower with this as you see fit. Now I'm going to hit the arrow here and apply this modifier so that it makes the remesh real, because so far it's only been just rendered in the viewport. So now that the modifier is applied, this object is now solid. But I want to check what it looks like on the inside just quickly to see if there's any internal voids that needs fixing. And this is going to occur in the points where, because of the pose you've made, for example, here I put the hand under the gun and I wrap the fingers around, there is a chance that there will be a void created here. Also, because the arm comes in towards the body, there might be like some sort of void between the geometries here. So we're going to check. So I'm on the top here, I'm going to go into the sculpting mode, and I'm going to have a look inside the model. To do this, I'm just going to press Control Shift on my keyboard to make a lasso mask of like half the model, just to sort of mask the back half. And then I'm gonna go to face sets here on the top and make a face set from masked and then mask, clear mask. And now I'm going to hit H on my keyboard while hovering over the part I want to see, which is the front of the model here, to hide the other facets. So now with that hidden, I can look inside the model here, and I can see, just as I predicted, that because the arm came in towards the body, the bottom here is creating a little bit of a void, a little bit of a pocket that uncured resin can be inside. You know, this is not a huge deal, but I like to eliminate this as much as possible. And because it's going to be like on the underside of the hand here towards the body, this you're not going to see anyway, right? So may as well just close it up and fix it. An easy way to do this is to take the inflate brush here on the left. I'm going to increase my brush size to something a little bit larger. And then here, I'm just going to give it a couple clicks, just so that this pocket, I can do this from the inside or the outside. I just want to close this up, right? This is not something you're going to see anyway, and I may as well make sure that there is no resin that can be trapped, you know, as this is printing, which could cause issues later on. So I may as well just close this up. I'm going to check the hand out the front here as well. That's looking okay. I'm going to make another face set just to have a look here. Tiny little pocket here. Give it a couple clicks with the inflate brush. I'm going to clear the mask. See the front side. The front fingers are looking good, completely merged with the gun, so there's no pockets there. And the back here, just to have a quick look. It shouldn't be any issues because all the models that I've, like the main model parts, for example, like as it's standing in a neutral pose, I've created like, I've made sure that objects are intersecting. So these problems will only occur when you sort of try to butt up parts against each other. So like the hand towards the gun or the arm towards the body. It'll also occur if you sort of move your hand too far because they're not connected to the forearm. So you're just going to make sure that you keep a solid intersection between the parts. So now that we've inflated the voids there, we're just going to go back and do another remesh. And we're going to go remesh, and then usually just keep it at whatever it was before, 0.05 or whatever you decided to do it the first time around. So just keep it the same. And then when we apply that, we can go back into the sculpting mode and have a quick look to see if it did the trick. And here we can see that that pocket that was previously here has now been eliminated. So everything is solid. There are no internal voids or pockets that resin can get trapped in. So this is one solid object that we can now export for 3D printing. Now, an additional step you can do here, if you know, I share files online, so I like to decimate models to make them smaller, right? Because I think this will be like several hundred megabytes, or maybe not so much, maybe like 250 or something. But you can add another modifier, which is the decimate modifier, to lower the number of faces. So here you can see the face count is 1.465 million, which will, you know, it'll be quite a high number of, it'll be quite high. I like to keep this at less than 100,000. usually when I share files online. Again, this extra step is not necessary if you're, this is for personal use, right? So you just have to be aware that, when you put this on your SD drive or the USB drive to your printer, that there's enough space on it. But it'll also make less work for your slicer as well if the file size is a little bit more manageable. So what we can do is go within the decimate modifier, you change the ratio here. So at 1, it's 1.45 million, right? So I like to make it less than 100,000, which means that I need to make this 14 times less than it is. So what's the math here? So 140,000 will be 0.1, so half of that roughly will be 75,000. So 0.05 is what I'm trying to do here with the ratio. I'm gonna uncheck the real-time display modifier because that slows down this quite a lot. So with that unchecked, you can now change this to 0.05. Which will make the face count, roughly around 75,000. So we'll apply that and see what happens. This might take some time, depending on your PC. I don't really use Blender for this type of stuff. Usually I do all this remeshing and, cleaning up the voids and decimating within ZBrush, which handles this stuff a lot quicker than what it does in Blender. But Blender is free, and that's why I decided to share, blend files with you guys, because then you won't have to download any additional software. But yeah, anyway, so decimation is done. We can now export this model, which should be in a pretty manageable file size. So what we do here is we select the model. We go File, Export, STL, and then here we want to include selection only. This is so that it doesn't come out with all the hidden objects within the scene. And here we want to not change anything else because the scale should be correct because I've already set the scene scale for the blend file. So now you just want to give it a name and then export the STL file, and also choose the file location, right? So just gonna export. So I'm gonna look in my folder here, and yeah, as you can see, 7 megabytes, perfect. And if you zoom in on this, right, it does look a little bit rough. But again, this is the scale we're printing at. So it's fine, right? But if you feel like you want a higher fidelity on your models and that's up to you. All you need to do is make sure the voxel size is lower when you remesh it, and then you don't have to decimate as far either. So we did 0.05 on the decimation, but you could go 0.1 or experiment, play with it. But here it is in Lychee Slicer. I like to click it and see if there's any object repair. Here it says it has no structural issues, but if it does, you can hit repair, and then you can support and export and then print. So yeah, that's this Galactic Grunt model ready for printing. Yeah. I mean, that's all for this video. Let me know if you want to see me add any more. Oh yeah, before I leave you, don't save this file because now we've already remeshed and joined this, right? So save as a new file if you want to preserve this object. But yeah, that's it. Here it is in Lychee, ready to pre-support and print. Hopefully you guys have a play around with the blend file. I'm pretty happy with how this all turned out, and let me know if you want to see me add any new parts to this particular set or model. thanks for watching, and hope you all have a nice day and happy holidays. It's the 1st of December today, so holiday season. Hope you all have a good one. Thanks and goodbye.